Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear Pat. Happy birthday to you. And many more. Really quickly, my favorite story of Pat would be doing a silent meditation retreat with Jean Christian and Philippa, and we weren't allowed to talk, but Pat was such an imp. All weekend I was writing little notes saying, "Pat, would you shut them up?" He was just poking at me all weekend. That kind of guy he was.
So if people want to come up and share a piece of music or a song, just come and see Don. Don's right here in the kilt. He's going to be on the side of the stage here. Bring your instruments up. From here we're going to move into the storytelling. So if you have a story to tell about Pat, please come on up and do so. And we'll just ask that people respect when people are at the microphone. Try to give them some space to tell their story.
I have every right to talk. Everyone was touched by Pat in such a profound, emotional, stupid, silly way, and I think Tim, it allowed, Pat came in and told him, and I was just talking to Tim just now, and he was saying, I was talking earlier about process, and I think all of this is process for all of us. Pat brought to us our own internal process of dealing with shit that happens, the joy that happens, stuff. I think of Pat as light, as an energy, as a feeling. I don't have the stories. I don't have the goofy, crappy stories that some of you have. I don't have the funniness. I have the softness. I have the emotion that is Pat. I think of it as my dog has never, ever, ever liked any man. Pat walked in and and my dog had no problem with Pat. Went right over as though it was a girl. And Pat was that to me. He was this softness, this kindness, this sharing. As we've all said, the laughter, the joy, the perseverance, the tenacity, the vivaciousness. I love Pat a lot. And I felt also that I hadn't known Pat long enough. I think of Mike, Gary, Sue. I've known them forever. Pete, your family, all of you. You guys have known them forever. I've known them for 14, 15 years. Christine came up here and sang a song. Didn't know him at all. But it made no difference because we all understand who Pat was. And we can all take that with us, because I find that this room is just shining. It's just shining from Pat's emotion, Pat's size. He was huge, he was massive, and he encompassed all of us. I feel privileged to have known him, and I still know him because he will live in me forever. The room that he was in, he filled it entirely. His void now will fill it even more. Because very rarely do we get this many people coming to Pat's party. Very few. Usually it's like 18, 20 of us sitting around slamming back a whole bunch of wine and getting absolutely smashed and going, "Boy, that was really good wine, wasn't it?" The last wine club, the Friday before, a very funny event. Lois and Steve hosted it. It was a brown bag sort of affair. We had 4 different wines. There were 2 bottles, all of the same kind of wine, same grape, but there was one really expensive and one dumpster. And we went through all these wines and pretty close. We were getting them. Yeah, that's it. That'll be the good one. That'll be the bad one. Yes, yes. What do you think? Oh, yeah. And it came to the end, and Lois pulled out the port. And so we straight away, everyone goes, "Oh, that's port. Yes, that's port. Very good." So we have the first one, and it's fabulous. And it reminds us all, and particularly me, it reminds me of sitting around at a campfire. We could chat, we could talk, smoke a big fat cigar. And and be at peace. And it was awesome. It was like, okay, and then I'm talking to Pat, and Pat's going, yeah, that's really, oh, I love that, that's fabulous. Okay, Lois takes everything. Okay, now we're gonna have the second one. We're gonna have the second one. We pull out the second one, and everyone's going, no, that's not as good as the first one. Not as good. There was a couple, that thought this was a more preferable wine. And we're looking at each other and going, yeah, no, I still can't try it. We go back to number one, no, number two, yeah. And then there was the unveiling of the price of this thing. What was the price of the second one? Oh, $38.95 a bottle. Oh. And then Pat's all of a sudden went, let me try that first one. Maybe I don't like the first one as much as the second one. And so straight away, I gave Pat shit. I said, how dare you let your intellect and your money, your value of the wine precede your ability to enjoy it. And so forever, we've been, now since that Friday, we've been drinking the cheap port. And I just want to share this. When we went to Terrace to say goodbye to Pat, after we had all gone and said our goodbyes, Mike, Daniels, and Philippa and myself took a bottle of that cheap port into the room again. And I asked the coroner, I said, is it okay if I pour some port on Pat? And he said, yes, that would be okay. And so I took the bottles and I poured some port where his heart would be. And you'll be damned, what shape did it take but the shape of a perfect heart? And I knew at that point, I knew that day Pat was okay. Pat was kind. He was brilliant. He was awesome. But for the whole week prior, like after the Tuesday night, after I knew, I was trapped. I was trapped on the hillside with Pat. All I heard was going, and excuse my language, fuck, fuck, fuck. And he was stuck. And I was stuck watching him tumble over and over and over and over again. And I couldn't let go of that image. And when I got to Terrace, I gave the guy a hug, rested my arm on him, and I felt him leave that mountainside. I felt him land firmly in my heart, in Philippa's heart, Lowen's heart, and obviously everyone here landed firmly in your hearts. And I appreciate the fact that this community has come together to celebrate Pat in such an exuberant, fabulous, touching, poetic, moving. He's a pillar, always will be, and I'm going to miss him dearly.
I don't really have a story necessarily, but I do have lots of thoughts that I'd like to voice. Like what I kind of wrote in the journal that is put out over there for people to write their thoughts about Pat. I wrote, when people in our lives that we used to lean on, that we rely on to build us up and keep us strong, when those people are no longer around, or for some reason aren't able to do so, it's the memories we have of them that act as the heartbeat that keep them with us forever and through everything we feel we need help for and guidance with. Pat was the kind of person who entered every experience and encounter he had, with whoever it was, with such a presence and intensity that he made sure it was an experience that was worth becoming a memory. Due to the optimism, acceptance, and friendliness anyone who had the privilege of having any experience with him felt, even if it was a stranger. And it was because of those things that if you knew Pat, you weren't going to stay a stranger for very long. He would never treat you as anything less than a friend, so that was, by default, what you became. That's also what makes being a close friend that much more rewarding, which is what most, if not all of you are here today. Not to say I am, but that's how I see it. And it will also become our job to keep Pat with us through stories and memories, not just today, but for as long as we can and choose to. I saw an interesting thing yesterday on a TED Talk, actually, that said there are some people in the world who go through life like this. They use that to protect themselves from the unexpected misery or hurt that may come their way. There are also people in life that live like this. And while that may mean catching misery and hurt, it also means being ready for all the wonderful and amazing things that may just happen to fall from the sky. I sense that it can be tempting and almost easy for some of us after an event like this, which is nothing but tragic, to switch. And maybe not even consciously. Then it becomes our job again, as all being family and friends to each other, to help each other down from that and let each other live life again to the fullest, just like I know Pat did. Now, I don't know his story word for word, but I recognize that you don't ever overcome anything you're too afraid to confront. And by the way that he chose to live, he proved he was strong enough to fight for the life that he wanted. He pulled himself out of a place that now allowed him to live with genuine optimism and authenticity. It also allowed him to become someone whom I will now and forever look up to and admire, and hope that maybe one day, even a little bit, I can be half as strong as he was.
I don't have a finite moment when I met Pat that I can remember. But he just was part of our community. I worked with him as a carpenter. We did some forestry work at some point. Can't remember where I went. But it was with great pleasure that I saw Jay and Pat coming into our camp to survey this last week. And I have the fortune, or misfortune, to have taken his last picture. I have shared those with Facebook or wherever that gadget thing is. I'm not very proficient at it, but I finally got the pictures online. But I just wanted to say publicly, goodbye, Pat. You were a great friend, and we all love you very much. Goodbye. Cheers from Bruce.
I just would like your attention because I wrote a poem this morning for Pat. and I'd like to share it with you. I don't really know what the name of this poem is yet, but I called it Pat the Teacher. You gotta live. You gotta live. He said to me just the other day. Bracken brown, turquoise, ultramarine, leaf green yellow. This man stood, floating like a river, the Balky River, his home river, his river home. You gotta live, he said to me the other day. Cinnamon, mustard, hot chili peppers, burning white coals, scorching, embracing all that surrounds him, smudging smoke, embers, warmth, hearth, eyes a flame of fall. You gotta live, he said to me just the other day. This brilliant golden heart, smiling, radiant, pulsing, brimming over, flowing like lava hot through his life coat. His life coat. You gotta live was his parting message to me, to all of us. Thanks, Pat.
Really depicted a lot of the great things about Pat and a lot of the fun moments. One of my really good, fun or great memories with Pat was at his 40th birthday. Heather Harris had schemed that that she would surprise Pat when it came time for his birthday cake. And so sure enough, everyone sang happy birthday, and they brought this big cake for Pat. And then Heather proceeded to smash the cake into Pat's face. And my daughter, who was only 3 at the time, and other friends who were 2 and 3, to this day say that's one of their earliest memories. I think for them, they couldn't fathom why the adults were doing this. A birthday cake is supposed to be fun, and what were they doing smashing it into his face? And Philippa said recently, when she moved from that home, so when she moved a year ago, she was still cleaning cake off of the ceiling and off of the walls. She actually ended up painting over top of some of the residual cake from that face smash. When Pat turned 50 3 months ago, again Heather sort of schemed, you know what, we got to do the pie thing again for Pat. And sure enough, happy birthday, the cake came out, and all the kids, there was about 10 of them with pies, proceeded to smash Pat with the pies. After the first 1 or 2, he turned away, and you can see in the pictures or on the video on Facebook, he's got a huge mound of pies on the back of his neck, and he proceeded to the river to clean up. Another one of my favorite memories, which again was just recent and was sort of the inspiration to Linda's poem on River's Day, which was 4 weeks ago. Pat wanted to anchor a boat, take a raft down the river, and he called his friends and he called the neighborhood, and he was going to be the pilot steering the raft. And it was a cold day. It was probably, 5 to 8 degrees. It was raining. And about halfway down the river, Pat said, you know what? I think it's time for a swim. And we said, what do you mean? What are you talking about? And he had, I think he had neoprene from the waist down, but he had a t-shirt and just a sweater and his life coat. And he said, yeah, I think this is the right place. And he stood on the back of the raft, did a bounce, and he did a backflip right into the water. And there were pictures of that in the slideshow. and you know, we were cheering, and just again, that was so Pat, you know, just so spontaneous. And later, Linda was saying to him, geez, you know, what was that about? Like, what were you thinking? It was cold, and Pat, he had this infectious cackle, you know, and he kind of, well, you gotta live, he said. So what a guy, that Pat.
Oh, that's fantastic.
Linda and I moved into the neighborhood where Pat and Philippa were residing. We moved, there was a house built, and we moved in January. And for the last, well, especially for the last year, but since we've moved in, we've had the privilege of having lots of gatherings with Pat, Philippa, with Colin and Tamara and their family, and with Declan and Gretchen and their kids. And we've formed quite a tight community. Gretchen and Declan and Maya and Hannah unfortunately couldn't be here, and so Gretchen sent an email that she wanted me to read, and she wanted me to say it to be read today. So this is from Gretchen and Declan, Maya and Hannah. Our northern spirits ache to be with you today. Our hearts are broken by the treacherous reality of the sudden death of our dear friend and neighbor, Pat. Along the Witzinkwa, our unintentional community has flourished in large measure because of the radiant character, quirky laughter, and abounding energy, light, and love of Pat. It also looks much better because of Pat's formidable skills as an artist carpenter. Our house being the most recent example. Today, as you gather at Driftwood, we will be paying our respects to Pat at the Glide Memorial Church in San Francisco, replete with an uplifting sermon and full gospel choir. I am certain Pat would approve. This church serves the marginalized and the poor, who were another passion of Pat's life. His concern for social justice and the practical humanity involved in second chances. We lift up our hearts in thanksgiving to you, Pat, for a life fully lived. You packed in more love, adventure, kindness, generosity, and fun into your too short 50 years than many of us will in a lifetime. Godspeed, dear friend. And finally, to Pat's family, specifically to Philippa and Molly, in the spirit of friendship, we, along with everyone gathered here today, commit to this grieving journey for which you, and indeed all of us, were completely unprepared. We are here with you to shed tears, to make sure that you eat and sleep, to sit in silence, to reflect, to ensure there is wood for your fire and food for Dixie and Basil, to give you space when you need space, to connect when you need connecting, to cry, laugh, rage, and cry some more. We carry you in our hearts. All our love, Gretchen, Declan, Maya, and Hannah.
Neighbors in the room, and I want to sing a little ditty, but we need some help. Either need some snapping. It's kind of a little upbeat jazzy song, some snapping or some foot stomping. And the rhythm looks like this. Everyone can contribute some snaps for Pat. Oh, you guys are cool. My bass player is over there. Okay, but I need it loud. Yeah, where's some snapping? My soul is a weary, my soul is a weary, my soul is a weary. My soul is weary and beaten down from all my misery, yeah. Oh Lord, who will comfort me? My soul is weary and beaten down from all my misery, yeah. Oh Lord, who will comfort me? Got a hold of my heart that keeps me bound when the whole wide world is free, yeah. Oh Lord, who will comfort me? Got a hold of my heart that keeps me bound when the whole wide world is free, yeah. Oh Lord, who will comfort me? Got a hold of my heart that keeps me bound when the whole wide world is free, yeah. Oh Lord, who will comfort me? Little copy, that's Ellen song for Pat. My soul is weary. My soul is weary. My soul is weary. My soul is weary. Soul is weary and beaten down from all my misery. Oh Lord, who will comfort me? That's free now. That's a little ditty just for him. Thank you, everyone.
Okay, let's do it.
Okay, honestly, I just went to the mic back up and I might as well say something. Met Pat, I guess, in earnest in 1997. We worked together for a fledgling forestry company. And that's where we got to know each other, and we ended up becoming neighbors. And I don't know. I know there's lots of sad things to think about, and I'm sad to be missing Pat as well, but I have two very distinct memories of Pat. One is here at the Beltane Bash, where he was thinking about a band, I think it's called the Buttless Chaps, but he came as the Chapless Butt. The other one is at our place out on Evelyn, Coal Mine Road. We used to have these gender benders, and no minors were allowed. And the last one we had was rather small. We had a live band and stuff like that, but we only had about 30 people, but that's all we needed because Pat showed up wearing a streaker's coat with nothing covering his ass. And so for me, the lasting memory I have is of Pat's ass.
Excellent.
Anyways.
Yeah, I got volume up. We're good.
You got it?
Yeah, I think we're good. Just hang tight. I want to get some good video. Where I come from. Nice. Nice. I was feeling this real overall sense of community, right? And I love Tim.
Can you hear me? Oh. Yep. I'm just backing up here.
She's here.
We're going to play another song, just because Mark Edwards said.
Yeah, good. Thank you, Norma. It's for you, Pat. He's looking at you.
Mic 1, please, Don.
Mic 1's up.
Check. There we go. Okay.
Awesome.
Okay, here's a song about community, folks.
Community.
I know you're all visiting, which is really great. So hang on to your friends beside you because they're part of your community.
Feel free to sing along. There's a really easy line in it. It's called
Rock
Where I Come From. And the line comes up for you.
Just made a request. Guys, go play this one. We love it. Come on, Pat.
Play together. Where I come from, there is music in the air. Where I come from, life is in the air. Well, I've been on places, seen a lot of things, but I ain't seen nothing like that. So on the road, watch out for the stop the news ahead. You know, it could be you in the same situation, and you understand because where you come from, people ask you how you do it. Where you come from, you're not afraid to show they care. Where you come from, everybody knows your neighbor. You've been a lot of places, seen a lot of things, but I ain't seen where you come from. Where I come from, people ask you how you do it. Where I come from, I'm not afraid to show they care. Where I come from, everybody knows their neighbor. Been a lot of places, seen a lot of things, but I ain't seen nothing like where I come from. Been a lot of places, seen a lot of things, but I ain't seen nothing like where I come from.
Woo-hoo-hoo! Yeah! Few words?
Cheers.
We love you, Pat.
We love you, Pat. For one thing, I appreciate, Mark, you doing this. I think this is of absolute value to Philippa and everyone. It is totally reflective of who Pat was. He was our heart, our soul. He did everything for everyone, and he still found time for himself. Cheers, Pat.
Cheers. See you later.
a good night.
Mark, we're just talking about how wonderful it is to live in this supportive community.
Absolutely.
We're going to miss Pat because he was part of that supportive
He
community.
is part of us always, hey?
We'll keep him in our hearts as we go forward.
This is where he came from. Come on, you guys.
You gotta live.
You gotta live.
You gotta live.
That we live with in this town. They're the explorers. They're the people that, that push the boundaries of things and they dare to. And the women hold them in their hands and they hold them when they can. And we always hold them in our hearts and celebrate. And that's it.
Everybody loves you. You're always so positive, always smiling. I love you. Dad, I love you. Bye. I never forget you. Forever in my heart. As words you've always said, just give her. I will.
Adieu mon fils, salut Paddy, je t'aime maman.
Pat, your friends got me drinking wine. Never really thought to see the day, but yeah, I wish I had some more time to spend with you, but we'll meet up soon enough. Take care, bud.
Hey, Pat. What's going on there, digger? This is the best time, Pat. This is awesome, bro. Love ya.
Hey, Dad. Just gonna miss you a lot, and yeah, I don't know. Love you, Dad. Love you. We'll miss you lots. I'm not saying goodbye because I'll see you someday. I don't regret ever leaving me. My God, I will tackle you so hard.
Group hug. Group hug. Group hug.
Group hug, yeah. Awesome.